I love it. I love it. We're live. Welcome, Immunity Boost Festival. I'm so excited to be here and kick off this festival. We're talking about something I love to talk about. That's health, wellness, fitness, and mindset. And it's a breath of fresh air because usually I talk about being an entrepreneur or part of my journey, business, my background. But this is something I'm so passionate about and so happy to dive into. Before we get started, I'm in my office, and I don't know if you guys can see these pictures behind me. I have a wall full of famous old school rappers. And as people come into this conversation and dialogue, I just want to share a quick story, and then we'll get into the what we're going to dive into today. But I started out as a rapper. I started out as a rapper in the early 90s. And I did a show called Club MTV. It was hosted by a gal named Downtown Julie Brown. It was like the highlight of my career. I did Club MTV. And right after the performance, I got on an airplane and I was going to do my first live show ever in Pittsburgh. And I got off the airplane. And when I got off the airplane, there was a big magazine rack right on the magazine stand, right when I got off of the plane. And on the cover of a magazine called Rap Pages was my picture. I was on the cover of Rap Pages. That's like for an entrepreneur, it's like being on the cover of Forbes. I'm on the cover of Rap Pages? What? So I took there were like 50 copies of this magazine. I took all these copies. I'm going to send it to my mother, to my high school teachers, everybody is getting a copy of this magazine. I am on the cover of Rap Pages. And as I'm going to check out at the register, I look at the magazine, and the headline with my picture on it in big, bold letters, it said, "Are white rappers ruining hip hop?" And I was the poster child of that. So this wall behind me is a reminder of the people that really influenced me as a teenager growing up in New York, that really changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm in my office right now. So that being said, welcome everybody to the Immunity Boost Festival. I'm Jesse Itzler. Today we are going to talk about how to control your mind, your diet, and your fitness to be the best version of yourself. And before we do that, I just wanted to share a quick story why I'm so excited about this topic. I am very into my health and wellness. I'm basically a fruitarian, basically a raw foodie, and basically a vegan. I do have slight deviations, but I credit that to a super vibrant life. And I want to share a lot of my secrets today of what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me in health, wellness, and mindset, even in business, in the next 30 minutes. But the way that I kind of look at this topic in general is, imagine if you were a bazillionaire and you have a sports team and yachts and airplanes and multiple properties and a huge bank account and everything is great. And you're on a vacation in Hawaii and you're on your vacation, but you got a sore throat. And every time you swallow, all you can think about is that sore throat and how much that sore throat hurts and getting rid of that sore throat and getting better. That's just a sore throat. Magnify that by something more serious. That's how important health is to you. And there's an old saying that I love. If you have health, you have hope. And if you have hope, you have everything. We're all here for different reasons today. Some of us are here joining the festival because we want to learn mindset hacks. Some of us are here because we want to learn about wellness or food, or maybe some of us are here because there's some entrepreneurial tips we're going to learn. I don't know. We're all here for different reasons. But the one thing we all have in common, the one thing that basically all humans have in common, is we want to feel good. We want to feel good. Success is being good at multiple buckets. Not just one thing. It's not just being rich. Success is being a good father or parent or son or businessman. It's treating your body well. It's having good relationships. It's being good in multiple buckets. We're going to talk about 3 of them today: mindset, fitness, and wellness. Before we dive into it, for those that don't know me, I'm Jesse Itzler. Quick background: I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had a very unconventional journey as an entrepreneur. As I mentioned earlier on, I started out as a rapper, believe it or not. In the early 90s, I was signed to a record label called Delicious Vinyl. I guess I'm most known in business for a private jet company I started when I was 29 years old with my partner. We had no airplanes, no aviation experience, and basically no money. And we built this company into the largest private jet car company in the world. We did $5 billion in cumulative sales, and we sold that company to Warren Buffett's NetJets. 5 years before that, or 6 or 7 years, I should say, before that, I was a kiddie pool attendant. I slept on 18 different couches between the ages of 19 to 22 of friends that put me up, couch to couch to couch, trying to make it in the music business and just in business in general. And, I was a guest on a private airplane at 28 years old. And before that, I was a kiddie pool attendant, as I mentioned. I wrote jingles. I sold chicken, shrimp, and meat door to door. I cleaned meat trucks. I had a t-shirt company. I wrote jingles. I cleaned pools. I had a lot of jobs. And a couple of years later, I find myself as a guest on a private jet. And my partner and I walked onto this plane. It was like the scene in The Wizard of Oz when everything in life changes from black and white to color. And I was like, people fly like this? I want to fly like this. And by the time we landed, we were like, let's start a private jet company. And we did. We sold that company years later to Warren Buffett's NetJets. I then got involved in a coconut water company. I'm an endurance runner. I was training for a 100-mile run and discovered coconut water and partnered with a company called Zico, Z-I-C-O, a small little company that we grew into a bigger company. We sold it to Coca-Cola 2 years later. I'm married. I'm a dad of 4 children, all under the age of 11. My wife and I are based in Atlanta, where she runs her company called Spanx. She's the founder of Spanx, and we're part owners in the Atlanta Hawks. And the common theme throughout my entire journey has since I'm 21 years old, has been around health and wellness. And I'm so excited to talk about what to me is really a hot button for me, because like I said earlier, we all want to feel well. We all want to be vibrant. Knock on wood, I haven't really missed a day of work since I was 22 years old and operate on a 15 out of 10 energy. And today I want to talk about 3 things that are the backbone of that, of really the success in feeling amazing. And I think something that if I were to ask everybody, hey, everybody listening here today, does anybody want less energy? I don't think anyone's going to raise their hand. We want more energy. And the way you do that is based around your mindset, your diet, and fitness. So I want to dive into those things, and then I'll answer questions. You can post a question in the Facebook comments or on Instagram Live. I will get them. I'm happy to respond. I want this to be interactive. If I don't get to them during this talk, I'll get to them at the end. I'm happy to spend as much time. As an entrepreneur, I really have only had one rule, and that's to provide value. So my only goal here is to provide as much value as I can. I've always said to myself, if you over-index in value, good things are going to happen. So that's what I want to do. Let's start with mindset. So I'm going to share something with you. Some of you that are listening that are familiar with me might have heard this in the past, but if not, it's probably the single greatest piece of advice that I've received in the last decade. And if you would have asked me about this 10 years, I'd be like, this is the most ridiculous thing. This is hokey. This can't work. But what I'm about to share with you can be applied immediately. You can teach it to your kids. You can use it. And like I said, it can apply to every bucket of your life starting right now. So a couple of years ago, I was training for a race called the Last Man Standing. And the format of the race is it's a 4.2 mile loop. You have an hour to complete it. If you finish it in, say, 50 minutes, you have a 10-minute break because they line you up again at the top of the hour to do the loop. And they keep repeating this until only one person is left standing, the last man standing. So during the preparation for this race, I did 10 training runs of 38 miles. And every time I got to 38 miles, I hit a wall and I had to shut down. And I convinced myself that my limit was 38 miles. Like that's my cap. I can't go past 38 miles. And I heard about a guy named Chad Wright. You should follow him if you don't follow him. He's a former Navy SEAL. I heard him on a podcast, and I heard him on the podcast say that he took a guy that only ran 5 miles. That was the most he had ever run in his life. He met him at a starting line of a race. And Chad, just by having him repeat, I will not quit, I will not quit, I will not quit, took him all the way to the finish line of a 100-mile race. I said, that's impossible. I'm a runner. Nobody can go to a starting line of a 100-mile race with 5 miles as their personal best and literally 20x do 100 miles and make it to the finish. It's impossible. But then I was like, well, what if he did do that? I want to 20x my life. I want to be 20x in business, 20x in relationships, 20x in health, everything. So I cold called Chad and I told him my problem. I'm stuck at 38 miles. He said, look, I can solve this problem in 2 days. So a week later, he's at my house where I was living at the time in Connecticut, and he's going to break through my 38-mile barrier. So the first day that he's there, he doesn't say a word to me. He's got a long beard, intimidating guy. Navy SEAL, long beard, way longer than my quarantine beard that I have right now. And he's just taking notes and kind of laughing. And my friends are calling me up. Did you change your cadence? Are you eating differently? Are your breathing patterns? Like, what are you doing to break through your thing? I said, he hasn't said a word to me. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, man. Like, I don't want to waste this guy's time. How am I going to learn? We sit down at dinner and he says, tomorrow we start our mission at 0500, 5 in the morning. But we'll meet at 4:45 a.m. in the kitchen to map out our plan. And I'm like, what a waste of time. This guy's going to meet with me for 15 minutes before, and I'm going to break through a barrier that I've had for 10 runs. So sure enough, 4:45 a.m., we meet in the kitchen. He says, Jesse, today we're going to do 3 things. And if you do these 3 things, you will shatter the 38-mile mark. The first thing we're going to do is we are never going to give our pain a voice. What does that mean, Chad? It means that we know it's going to be miserable. We know we're going to be in pain. We know we're going to be uncomfortable. We know we might have blisters. In business, we know we're going to say to ourselves, we don't have what it takes. We don't have enough experience. We're not good enough. Someone's better. I can't do this. We know we're going to have those thoughts. But when we speak them, we give them power. Today, if I ask you how you feel, regardless of how you feel, you're going to say, Chad, I feel outstanding. Number 2, we're never going to die in the chair. Okay, what does that mean again? He says there's only 2 possible outcomes. Mindset. 1, we exhaust all of our options. We leave everything out on the field, but we just don't succeed our goal, and that's okay. And the other possible outcome is victory. Anything else is unacceptable. And when he simplified that to me, so all I have to do is try my hardest, never give up, be super present, be where my feet are, and run. And either I'm going to hit my goal or he said, yeah, you're just not going to sit in the chair and be like, I give up. And number 3, gratitude. We're going to OD in gratitude. Even though it's the COVID and we're going to feel miserable and all this stuff's going on and there's uncertainty and we're all, overwhelmed like me. I mean, I'm overwhelmed just like everybody else. My kids have glitches just like everybody else's kids could have glitches. Despite all that, every mile, every loop, we're going to tell each other what we're grateful for. One thing. Well, that day I did those 3 things. I never gave my pain a voice. Chad, this is outstanding. This is amazing. I feel great. 2, I always got up out of that chair. I'm going to leave everything out there. Exhaust all outcomes. Either it's going to be successful or I tried everything. And 3, I'm going to think about everything that I'm grateful for. That day, I blew through the 38-mile mark. I was in the 50s. My friend Mark Brown doubled his personal best through the power of the mind. Fast forward 30 days later, I'm at the start of the Hennepin 100-mile race. Chad is running it with me. Okay, we get to mile 74. 74 miles in, I am broken. We're about a quarter mile from an aid station and I'm limping. Chad can sense it. He senses it. He says, Jess, man, I'm going to tell you something that nobody knows about me, man. It's a miracle. I said, what's that, Chad? He goes, I don't get tired. It's crazy. I don't get tired. I want you to say it. I was so tired I couldn't say it. That would be a lie. I said, Chad, no. I said, no, I want you to say it. Chad, I don't get tired. He said, no, say it like you mean it. Tell me like you really believe it. Chad, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I'll tell you what, Jesse, I'm going to let you walk the quarter mile to the aid station. But when we get there and the fine folks that are volunteering at the aid station are giving us food, I want you to tell them the miracle of Chad and Jesse. I walked to the aid station. The gentleman and the gal giving me a nice bowl of pasta. I said, thank you. I said, I'm Jesse. Sir, this is Chad. This is crazy, but we don't get tired. Chad and I, we don't get tired. Chad grabbed me like this. He said, let's go. And we take off. 1 mile. We start running every 5 minutes. Are you tired? No, Chad, I'm not tired. Are you? We don't get tired. 85 miles in, you tired? No. 88. I don't get tired. 90. I don't get tired. 91, 95, 99. 1 mile left. Chad, I don't get tired. Jesse, I don't get tired. Finish line. The words that you speak. The simple lesson that he gave me that's been in front of my face forever. It was a miracle of mindset. When I was 21 years old, I had nothing, sleeping on couches. I used to walk into my partner's office. We had an office at work. And I would say, Kenny, this is crazy, man. We're millionaires. We're millionaires. They just haven't paid us yet. The words that we speak are so important. They're so powerful. It sounds so ridiculously easy. But be aware, be mindful this week of the people in your world that say, I can't, I won't, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, I'm not capable, I don't have enough experience, this coronavirus is this, I can't get this person on the phone, all these things. And just be mindful of what you give power to. That is mindset. That's how mindset works. If you Google what's the number one thing people want when they go to a conference, it's mindset. The truth is you can't have a powerful mind if you're not saying powerful words. Okay? So my little homework assignment for those in the Immunity Boost Festival is, as you listen, be aware over the next week of not just you, but those in your community and the words that they speak. Let's shift to diet. I mentioned before energy. When I think of diet, when I think of what I put into my body, and this is the Immunity Boost Festival, we're here for energy. The one thing we all want, we want to feel good. We want to be vibrant. We want to be alive. We want to feel alive. You can't feel alive. Let me back up. My opinion. Disclaimer. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. Okay? I'm not a wellness coach. I'm a trial and error person. Before there was marketing, there was something called common sense. I rely on my common sense. My body doesn't care who is on the cover of the package. They don't care who's endorsing. My body, once the food goes in my mouth, it doesn't care who's endorsing the product. It doesn't care what the fancy slogan is. It doesn't care how shiny or glittery the packaging is. It's a very simple decision. My body either recognizes it as something that's good for me and immediately distributes the goodness to my cells, or it recognizes it as something that's bad for me and uses all of its energy as much as it can to get it out of my body. That's the job of our digestive system. Distribute goodness, eliminate stuff that isn't. Super simple, okay? My theory around food is we are going to use more energy to digest the approximate 70 tons of food that the average American will eat in their lifetime than all the energy we will use combined. When you eat a big meal, what happens? You want to lie down and watch the football game. You get tired. You're not going to go run a marathon after you had a steak and potatoes and French fries and corn on the cob. You want to go lie down. If we could streamline digestion, very simple, use less energy for digestion, we will free up more energy for everything else, to be vibrant, to fight infection, disease, right? And the way that we streamline our digestion to make it less taxing is very simple. We eat less processed foods. We eat closer to the earth, closer to nature. We eat fewer ingredients. The more ingredients, the harder it is to break down single ingredient foods. And that's my philosophy. I read a book when I was 21 years old called Fit for Life by Harvey Diamond. Harvey Diamond, I read the book 9 times. In the book, it challenges the reader to eat fruit only in the morning until noon for 10 days. So instead of your bacon and bagel and eggs and oatmeal and pancakes, just eat fruit, because fruit digests quickly, is loaded with goodness, mostly water. We could talk about this. I don't know how much time we have, Immunity Boost Festival, so I'm going to keep this at a high level, and then I'll answer questions at the end. Anyway, without getting into the philosophies behind it, he challenged the reader. And like I said, I'm a trial and error guy. It made sense. Requires less energy, clears my system, gives me all the goodness and nutrients, doesn't take a lot of energy to digest in 20 minutes versus 3 to 8 hours for some of the other breakfast foods I was eating. So I tried it for 10 days, and then it says, the book says, well, go back on day 11 to your regular breakfast and see how you felt. So I tried it. I had fruit for 10 days until noon only. It was tough the first couple of days. And on day 11, I went back and I had a bagel with cream cheese and eggs, bacon, whatever I was eating. And I felt disgusting. And it's been 30 plus years unwavering where I've only had fruit until noon. Now, I'm not here to tell everybody to eat fruit until noon. Well, I kind of am. But I am telling you to experiment and see not believe what all the big companies are telling you to believe. Because they can convince you that milk does a body good. They can convince you it does a body good if you're a cow. And you're a calf, and you're going to grow from 50 pounds to 900 pounds on your mother's milk in 1 year. I'm not so sure how good it does to an infant. But they can tell you it is, and they can tell you all kinds of fancy slogans. But I like to do my own research on me. And that's worked really, really well for me. I look at it very simply. Your body is the greatest healer. If we free up that energy, if you get a cut on your arm, you don't have to do anything. Your body will create a scab. It'll heal. It'll stop bleeding, create a scab. Over time, the scab will fall off, and you'll have brand new skin like it never happened. You didn't do anything. Your body is the greatest healer in the history ever. If we don't get in front of it and pollute it with licorice and other poisons that are made in a lab. So my rule of thumb is very simple. The average American gets 21 meals a week. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, times 7 days a week, 21 meals. I try to make sure at least 51% of those meals are as natural fruits, vegetables from the earth, as close to the source as possible. At least, at a minimum, you go 70 better, 80 better. But if you don't look at it as a 21 meals and look at it cumulatively and live by everything in moderation, moderation is fine. Yeah, I'm having an ice cream cone today. I have an ice cream cone a day. That's all I have. That's fine. It's just an ice cream cone. That's all you had today. But over 10 years, it's 3,000 ice cream cones. You can't. Moderation isn't an excuse if it's cumulative. So 21 meals. If you have, I'm going to have pancakes today with bacon, and I'm going to have pizza at night and for my next meal, and then I'm going to have Taco Tuesday with sour cream and cheese and fried this and fried that, and that's all of a sudden those meals start dipping into your 21 meals, your percentage could be all the way up here. So just be mindful on a weekly basis of the cumulative nature, okay? As I said, if you have health, you have hope. If you have hope, you have everything. The other thing I want to say about my diet, which I think is really important, is I don't consider it a diet. People say like, oh, you've had fruit till noon, and I never look at it as deprivation, because deprivation never works. It's lifestyle for me, man. I chose to find what makes me feel the most alive, what helps me not miss a day of work. And for me, that's what it looks like for me. And I never consider it like I'm giving up this or I'm giving up that. It's a commitment. It's a lifestyle commitment to how I want to live my life. I love having energy. I love being with my kids. Like in my 20s, I wanted to have a six-pack, maybe, and meet the girl. In my 30s, maybe I met the girl. I want to go to the gym and stay in shape. 40s, 50s, 60s, I want to stay out of the hospital, man. I want to stay out of the hospital. People are getting diagnosed. I'm 52. My friends are getting diagnosed, man. I don't want to get diagnosed, knock on wood. This is important to me. It's not a game. I don't get a second chance at this. I'm like Warren Buffett said, this is the one car I have. If you had one car your whole life, would you give it crappy fuel? If it was the only car you would have, you had to drive it your whole life? I don't look at the food that I buy as an expense. It's an investment. That organic stamp, that's not an expense. That's an investment in me. The Breville juicer that I have, my Vitamix, that's not an expense. That's an investment. Because if I'm operating a 10 out of 10, I'm going to be better at work. I'm going to think clearer. I'm going to be more patient, more present. I'm going to be where my feet are with my kids. I'm not going to want to take a nap after lunch or need a 5-hour energy in the morning. I don't need all that, man. Which leads me to my third thing, fitness. I heard that they asked Richard Branson what his number one secret to success was. And he said going to the gym. Now, I didn't hear this firsthand, but this was told to me. Now, I don't believe that he meant lifting dumbbells. I think he meant the commitment to himself, the discipline of going every day and prioritizing his health first. For me, I'm a runner. I've done several 100-mile runs. When I started out running, my goal was to run 2 miles. If I could run 2 miles in under 20 minutes, I was a runner. And it took me a little bit of time. I went from college couch to going out running. It took me like a week or two to get, my legs under. Maybe it was 18 minutes. I think my goal was 18 minutes. So 2 miles in 18 minutes, I was a runner. And I finally hit that goal. Well, nothing's changed in my body. These are the same legs God gave me, the same lungs that God gave me when I ran 2 miles. I'm not very strong, but I was able to take that 2-mile goal and turn it into a 100-mile run in under 24 hours. And the only two things that changed were my mindset. Like I said earlier, the words that I say to myself, the words that I speak out loud. I knew I already ran that 100-mile race before I was at the finish line. I ran it 10,000 times in my head. I was just filling in the script when I got there, and my diet. That's the only difference between the 2-mile goal and that 100-mile race that I did. And the way that I approached my fitness was a couple of things I want to share with everybody. You don't need me to tell you fitness is important, working out is important. But the way I look at it, I had 2 fundamental shifts this year that I want to share with you. The first thing is I was in the past, I've always looked at my workouts daily. I'm going to run 5 miles every day this week. And it always led to disappointment because inevitably something would happen during the day. My kids got sick, I had to stay home with them, or I had an emergency or a business meeting, or maybe something got in the way. And then I would beat myself up. I didn't make it yesterday. Let me take today off, or I'm not good at this. I can't keep this pace. And I've made a fundamental switch. I still look at my days, and it's still important for me to exercise every day. But I set weekly goals, and it's been a game changer. I'm going to bike 200 miles this week instead of I'm going to bike 30 miles every day. So if I miss a day, I know I can get 60 the next day. If I miss 2 days, I can go knock out a 90 or fill in the gap. So I've shifted my focus to look at exercise weekly versus daily, and I've really started to look at it cumulatively. So like if I get, instead of, and the old me was like, I need to run for an hour. The new me is like, look, if I can get 20 minutes in right now, I'll take it. I'll get 40 in at the end of the day. I really started to take a cumulative approach. Everything adds up, right? Over the course, exercise doesn't know that it's necessarily your schedule. So if you could grab 20 minutes, you have 20 minutes, it's better than not doing it. So, you start the process. And the other thing I think that's been really helpful for me with my workouts and my fitness is I've been naming my workouts. I've been attaching a name to these workouts that I do to make it way more personal. So like today I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna go run the hills 6 miles in the mountains. And maybe I'll call it Hell on the Hill, or maybe I'll do Terror on the Track. And where I run and do burpees on a 1/4 mile track repeat. By naming it, it gives it a personality. It gives a strong emotional connection to the workout. It's more memorable. And it might sound silly, but it's really worked for me. There's really not a day where I regret working out. I've never gotten in a run in and came back and be like, I'm so angry I did that. And one of the hacks that I do to make sure I do the workout is I just get my shoes on and go. If I get my shoes on and get outside, I'm never going to turn around. If I get my shoes on and get on the treadmill, I'm never going to get off the treadmill. So again, it's just important to me to remember, start the process, and it's lifestyle. It's a commitment. Now, here's why these 3 things are important. And then I'll open up for some questions. I want to be mindful to everybody's time. Why is it so important to focus on your mindset, on your diet, and on your fitness? The day we wake up in life, we go on this bus ride. The keys go in, we get the steering wheel, and the bus starts moving. Now, you don't need me to tell you life goes fast. You already know that. But the bus starts going, and then all of a sudden you're a senior in high school, and they're like, Jesse, you better enjoy it. Senior year, it's going to go fast. Then you're in college, done. Maybe you meet a guy or a girl, you get married, you have a kid, then the kid is 10. In 8 years, you're going to be an empty nester. The bus keeps going. The bus has no reverse. The bus has no brakes. The bus doesn't care if you get sick. The bus doesn't care if you're lazy. It just keeps going. The bus doesn't care if you take a day off. The bus doesn't care if you have that ice cream cone every single day for 10 years. It just keeps going until one day, boom, the bus stops. It's over. I'm 52 years old. This much of my life, it's done. The only thing, I don't care what happened here. I don't care where you are, if you fell off the wagon and you're overweight. I don't care if your mindset isn't great. I don't care if you don't exercise. I don't care if you're broke. I don't care if you're divorced. You should either. What you should care about is from this moment on until the end of the ride, because that's all we have left. Nobody cares who won the NBA championship 5 years ago. What matters is from right here till the end of the bus ride. How do we maximize that? And you cannot have an amazing ride if your mind isn't right, if your diet is effed up, and if you're not exercising. You might be rich, you might be successful in work, but there is no way you can feel the best way you could possibly feel. What I said in the beginning, what we all want, if there is a chink in the armor in those 3 categories, and nobody signed up to be the 80% version of themselves. Nobody wants to be at the end of the bus ride to be like, yes, I was 80% of myself. Who wants that? We want to be the most vibrant version of ourselves we can. That's why we're tuned in. Shout out to Ziggy Marley too, tomorrow night. That's why we're tuned in here. Amazing lineup, by the way. Amazing lineup with the Immunity Boost Festival. That's why we're here. So what's important? The words that we speak. We always can't control what we think. The words that we speak, the decisions we make, the lifestyle choices we make, not deprivation, changing our lifestyle with good habits, not believing the marketers and the verbiage and the fancy packaging, but saying the things that are closer to earth, freeing up energy by not eating processed foods, even cooked foods, meats. Listen, they're hard to digest, no fiber. Eating closer to earth, and of course, getting our exercise. Thank you for having me. We got questions? So what fruits do thank you guys, by the way. It's an honor to be here. This is a topic where I haven't spoken much about. It's just my lifestyle. It's how I choose to live my life. And I feel very honored to be able to share it because I'm super passionate about it. And I'm 52 years old. I'm running 100-mile races. I did 2 last year. One only got to 80 something miles. One I got to 100. I ran a 50-miler last year. I just signed out for Ultraman, a 264-mile bike ride, 6.24-mile open swim, and a 52.4-mile run in March. I'm 52. I have multiple businesses, 4 kids, high energy all day long. And I feel qualified to talk on this topic because I live it. I live it. I experiment with different things. I find out what works best for me. And it's so important to me. And, before I answer these questions, just to rant for a second, if you're 52 years old like me, and you've been on earth for 52 years, and you haven't found something that pisses you off, it could be global warming, obesity, animal rights, social issues, whatever, then I think you're living a very sheltered life. And for me, my passion, my hotspot is the deception in marketing in the food industry. It drives me insane. Now, I'm not saying you got to go on a hunger strike or picket in front of the White House, but you got to have something in your life that you want to stand up for that's important to me. And this is a topic, what we're talking about right now: food, wellness, educating, taking things, trusting our gut, our common sense, using our intuition, experimenting to see what's optimal for us. Because just because I eat a lot of fruit doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for you. These are important things because there's nothing more important than your health. And I was asked by a basketball player in the NBA the other day, where he should put his money, stocks and bonds and this. He actually wanted to buy a Ferrari. And I'm like, before you buy the Ferrari, why don't you get a chef? Why don't you get a great, organic, clean chef and extend your career? Because whatever you invest in the stock market or your Lamborghini or your Ferrari or whatever, it's going to be dwarfed by the next contract you sign. Why don't you get a cold plunge? Why don't you get a massage therapist? These are investments, not expenses. What fruits do I eat in the morning? Anything that's fresh, anything that's not processed or canned. And I eat as much of it as I want. I predominantly eat mine in the form of smoothies, and there's a bazillion smoothie recipes. But I eat whatever's in season, and I eat as much as I want of it as long as it's fresh. In the afternoon, I have certain things that I don't eat. So I don't eat dairy. I don't eat fried foods. I don't eat any meat. So for me, the afternoon, again, now I eat smooth. A smoothie can last me a really long time. A good, rich smoothie can last me a long time. But in the afternoon, I have baked potatoes. I have salads, a lot of salads. I have pastas, a lot of steamed vegetables with my pastas. I love to have, I have a great avocado, tomato, a little bit of salt on toast is like my go-to. And I just mix it up. It's funny because my relationship with food is, it's different. I view food as fuel. It's not a crate, and there's nothing wrong with food as being a big social component or being an event, but I don't look at it as an event and activity. I view it, for me, it's fuel. Doesn't mean I'm not social. Doesn't mean I don't go on dates with my wife. I do. Doesn't mean I'm not fun at the dinner table. It just means that's my overall feeling is I try to eat healthy and I try to be aware of what I put into my body because I only get one of it. And listen, man, I got kids that are 11 years old. I'm 52. I want to be here for the weddings. It's not a game to me. Either it's good or it's bad. It's black and white. There's no gray to me. That doesn't mean I won't have a chocolate. It doesn't mean I'm not. I do, but in totality, in those 21 meals, I'm pretty good. I do intermittent fast. So I just got a coach, Dr. Mindy Peltz, and she's put me on a fasting program. So I try to go 17 hours from my last meal at night. So and until I eat. So I push my fruit back a little, and then I fast 24-hour fast 1 day a week. And there's an old study that's in the Fit for Life book where I haven't verified this. It's in the book, so I'm just talking about it from what I read in this book, which sold 17 million copies, where a UCLA doctor had 1,000 mice, and 500, they were exactly the same conditions. They ate the same food in the same cages, except 500 of the mice fasted 2 days a week. The other 500 didn't. Everything else was the same. And the mice that fasted lived a tremendous amount longer than the mice that didn't fast. I do not use I very rarely use a microwave to heat up food. Alcohol, again, I did when I was starting Marquis Jet. That was a big part of me, going out. By the way, I won my fraternity eating contest. I ate 27 hamburgers. It wasn't like, I made a conscious decision of how I wanted to live my life in this bucket. I was training for my first marathon, and I was looking for an edge. Like, what would help me? I wasn't even a runner. What would help me perform better? And I did a lot of research around hydration, nutrition, diet, and I experimented. And first I eliminated meat, red meat, then turkey, and then slowly but surely I became a vegetarian. And so I wasn't always like this. But alcohol was a big part of my life in my 20s. And I'm an extremist. So I don't do well with things like alcohol. I won't just have a casual beer. But I don't really drink any alcohol anymore for a couple of reasons. One, I just don't like the way it makes me feel. It usually sets me back 2 or 3 days. 2, I have 4 kids. I just don't have the time. And 3, I'm super happy and super high a lot of the time. So I haven't felt the urge to need it. And for me, there's no upside to it. There's no upside to it. Now I'll have a drink once in a while with friends. I'm not like, I don't want to sound like I'm this big downer, but it's not part of my lifestyle. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm just looking in the chat room. Cool. Well, if that's the case, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope there was value in this talk. I just wanted to give a little insight into me, what makes me tick. And I hope that you do the same for you and do a little bit of soul searching and see, my advice throughout the remainder of this conference, then I'll let everybody go. My advice with all the speakers and everything that goes on here is be open-minded. Be open-minded to the dialogue, to the speakers, to the opinions of others, Don't be so cut in your own ways that you're not open-minded to the advice and offerings that others here are going to do. And then if something resonates or makes sense, try it. See how it works for you, and trust your gut. The only way to really be in tune with your own gut, which is our number one superpower, our instincts, is to spend some time alone. And that doesn't mean go to the Himalayas and sit on the top of a mountain. It just means to you don't have to always ask Siri and Alexa off. It just means you have to spend some time alone to not be so influenced by all these inputs that come in from other people and sources and marketing and advertising, and just take a step back and say, well, what feels right to me? And don't be scared to go against the grain. Last thing, I know what going with the grain gets you. 40% obesity, more. I think obesity is like 66% according to the Harris poll, of Americans are unhappy. The divorce rate is 50%. The number of Americans that have savings over $1,000 it's like, I think it's like less than, it's crazy how few people have $1,000 or less in savings. I don't want to be normal if that's normal. I want to see what works for me. Thank you guys. Oh, you can scroll up for more. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions. Do you, Anna? No? All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Immunity Boost.